Yes. Okay. Awesome. Good. Well, thank you everybody for joining me today. My name is Will Hankey. My company is called Window Treatment Marketing Pros. We specifically help window treatment and awning companies across the U.S. Generate more leads. We do that through digital marketing means, through a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about some of those today. So appreciate everybody that has joined us. So some things that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about goals, 2021 goals. 2020 has kicked some people hard. We've had a record year, so it hasn't hurt us a lot. But different businesses, different parts of the country are struggling in different ways. But we're going to talk specifically about what your targets are, how many leads you're going to need in order to hit those targets, things that you can do to optimize your website specifically for conversion. And that's a word you're going to hear me say a lot. We have a lot of web designers out there that make really pretty websites, but pretty doesn't usually pay the bills. We prefer something that generates leads. And I think that's a little bit better scenario. Sure, it's nice to have a nice looking site, but it's also better if that site is spitting out leads, right? Consistently generating revenue for you as well. We're going to talk about kind of the big picture of all the different channels, some latest trends that you should focus on this year. And then we're going to build a plan. I've got a couple worksheets. We've got a workbook we're going to go through, and we're going to come out of this with a pretty good idea of what we're going to do in the coming year. So if you're serious about getting better results next year, don't look at cats on Facebook. I don't look at cats. I look at my grandkids is what I like to look at. But whatever it is that could possibly distract you, try to kind of focus on this if you would. Also, as I mentioned, we've got a worksheet. I've also built some other things for you, including some top window treatment keywords, awning keywords, and I put together a brand new checklist that I'll give to you at the end as well, specifically talking about all kinds of different things you can do with your website and external sources like Google Maps, Google My Business. So I'll get all of that to you. As far as myself, I said my name's Will Hankey. I've been teaching and doing digital marketing for almost 24 years now. The author of 2 books. My first book was called Your Internet Marketing Plan for Window Treatment Companies. Does that sound familiar? It's the same as the name of this particular thing we're doing today. And that was a pretty skinny book. It was in the 70, 80 page range, I think. And then I just launched or just released a brand new one in the last, 60 days or so, called Triple Your Window Treatment and Awning Leads. So excited about the books. I'm on the board of directors for the Custom Home Decor Network. I am an active member of the WCAA. I've been speaking across the country for quite a while now on SEO. Not lately, not this year, right? We're kind of stuck. You're stuck listening to me on Zoom as usual. Everybody else is too, I think, right? I mentioned my book. If you do want a copy of the book, let me know. I've got a box of them here, and I'd be happy to send you one. Just go to wtmarketingpros.com/book, and there's a little form there. What's your address? And I'll get one in the mail to you. Absolutely free. No trouble at all doing that. As far as my business, we are a veteran and family-owned business. As I mentioned, we do have clients all across the U.S., some of which are on today's call. Some of which are dealing with 80-degree temperatures and others are not, but that's okay. That's okay. And our specialty is lead generation through SEO and to a lesser degree pay-per-click, although we really love the SEO side of things. As I mentioned, I'd love to make this interactive as well. So if you at any point do want to ask any questions, please feel free to do so. And just interrupt me, unmute yourself, and I want to make sure that everybody gets their questions answered as we kind of cruise along here. I'm going to move some windows around so I can see. So, all right, let's jump into your 2021 Internet Marketing Plan. The first thing that I want you to do is to go grab the workbook. So I put together a workbook for everybody that you guys can kind of follow along. Of course, you can go back, review it later, but that's at wtmarketingpros.com/workbook. And it'd be great if you could download that. It's a PDF, so pretty easy to download. And that's going to help you, obviously kind of follow through it today, but also after the webinar today, go back through it and make sure that you're filling out some of these things and that you've got a really solid plan for the coming year. Any questions about that from anyone? Awesome. All right. So as I said, I wanted to make this a little interactive. So the first thing that I would like to ask from everybody is, what is the hardest part about marketing your business online? What are you guys struggling with the most right now?
Not having enough time in the day to basically, do everything online, with the social media, pay-per-clicks, SEO, blogs, etc., etc.
There's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of pieces, right? Not having enough time, because in the middle of all this, you're also trying to run a business, right?
Correct.
Makes it a little tough. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
I think that's pretty much the same with us, and understanding how to put things together and put it out there, because we're not sure what's going out there, if it's actually being seen or how to direct it towards certain audiences.
Yeah. So some of the things you're doing, does it have an ROI? And at the same time, is there a potential of tracking in place? Is that a good summary of what you mean there?
Yeah, and the part that we don't have enough time to do all that, integrate all that.
Right. Yeah.
Figure all that out and stuff.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Hi, everyone. I'm Juana.
Hi, Juana.
Unfortunately, my camera decided not to work today, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
But my struggle is with prioritizing the actions that return most, have best ROI, and setting the budgets for those actions. And I think everybody struggles with time to really feed the social media monster.
I like that. It is a monster, isn't it? And at the same time, is it one worth feeding, right?
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny, I have a marketing background myself, but to be honest, I'm new in the window treatments industry, and it's so hard for me to figure out what to put there. So yeah. That's what I'm struggling with.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Sure.
One of the things I want to make sure that we do today is talk about clear goals, and making sure that those goals are in place and that you have somewhere, it's better to have a destination, right, than just jump on the road and not know where you're going. So having a clear set of goals is really going to help overall. Some business owners, especially, echoing some of the things you guys said, there are a lot of pieces to this, and it's you're lost. Are you lost at sea? Which pieces do I need to focus on? Which pieces are going to create wind to get me going, right? And ultimately, that's what we're after. Clear goals creates what we could say is wind in your sails. It gets you moving in a forward, hopefully positive direction. So I want to tell you about a study that was done with a graduating class from Harvard. What they found is 84% of the graduating students from this small place called Harvard had no specific goals about what they were going to do afterwards. 13% had goals but hadn't written them down, so they kind of had an idea what they were planning on doing afterwards. 3% of them had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. Now, 13% of the class that had the goals in their head were averaging around twice as much in not revenue, in making money, as the 84% who had no goals at all. That's incredible. But what was even more staggering from this study was that the 3% that had those clear written goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97%. Incredible amount. So just just getting into mind of putting down goals. And, I don't know if you guys can see my whiteboards. I've got goals set up. We've got 3-month goals. We've got 6-month goals. We've got 5-year goals and 10-year goals. And it's very good to have those and be able to review those on a regular basis. So I'm going to give you some worksheets to kind of help you with some of that too. But a good framework is have written goals, have them written down, have a 1-year goal, quarterly goal, a monthly goal, and then you must have a stopping point at the beginning of each new year. And that's why I tend to do this right at the end of the year. And at the end of each quarter, reflect on where you're at. Are we hitting our points? Do we need to adjust? Is, as Oana said, is the social media piece of it working and helping us get there, or should we pull that back and point it towards something different? But having those stopping points is really good to keep you moving in a positive direction. So start thinking about some of these things, and you'll see this in the workbook. What is your revenue target for 2021? One thing you can do is take this year's revenue. If you've got a pretty good idea, we're 11.5 months in. So if you've got a pretty good idea of what you're going to hit this year, and then, okay, I want to do, I want to do 5% more. I want to do 7% more. I want to do 30% more next year. But having that number and then starting to kind of put that math down is a good exercise. And we'll get into that, and I'm going to give you a worksheet for it here in a minute. But then there's some things that we can do from that number. We can divide it by 12 easily and say, okay, so we need to be at this month monthly, if I could talk. And from there, we can say, okay, what is our average install, right? Or what is our average purchase? From there, we can divide into how many leads. And then from that, what is our closing rate, which is going to give us how many calls do we need to have, or how many leads are we going to need in order to hit that goal? And some of that is on the workbook, but I'm going to give you another link, and I'm going to put it in the chat for you here, wtmarketingpros.com/worksheet. And this one should work because I tried it earlier. wtmarketingpros.com/worksheet. So check that out, and I'm going to switch over to it if I can find it here. It's going to look something like this. So the first thing you're going to want to do here is you can't edit my sheet. So you want to go to File and then make a copy. Once you make a copy, you can keep it the same name. I think it's going to add the words copy to it, but just call it the 2021 Marketing Planning Worksheet. That'll let you save your own version that you can then edit. All right, anybody having trouble with that piece? Looks like you guys are all working away at it. That's awesome. So File, make a copy. We'll get you started. Once you have that pulled up, then some of the numbers that I was just talking about can start to be plugged in. And the way that I've kind of built this is it's fairly interactive. So in this just as revenue goal that I put in here, 2.5 million. If that number is high, put in something else. If I put in 1 million, I'm not counting my zeros. I should have been. I think that's right. Nope, that's 10. But you'll see whatever you put in there, it automatically kind of starts to calculate for you what your monthly is then from that. So if you know what your revenue is going to be this year, and you can add another 7% or whatever number you think you guys can do over the next year, then put that number into the annual revenue goal for 2021. That will give you your monthly. The next thing you're going to want to put in is your average ticket value. Now, if you don't know what this is, I highly encourage you to go over the last year's worth of tickets, worth of sales, installs, and figure out how many, how much money did we make? How many did we do? Divide that out so you kind of know what your average is worth in the first place. And this number is important because when you change this, it's going to tell you how many, ultimately, how many leads you need to generate what you're trying to hit, that goal. So if your average ticket is $1,000, put that in there. And then what you'll see is that means you need to generate 83 service calls a month in order to hit your 1 million goal. So part 2 down here, and if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and let me know. Part 2 down here is your average conversion rate. So if you get a client on the phone, how many times are you likely to close that deal? Is that 50% of the time? Is it 80% of the time? Whatever you think that number is, plug that into here, because that's going to help you understand how many leads you really need in order to hit that number correctly. So if that number is 75, then that means I need 111 leads a month in order to close my 83 at $1,000 each to hit my goal. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yep.
Good, good. So I think the 2 kind of unknowns for a lot of business owners is your average ticket value. Hopefully you know that. If you don't, it's definitely an exercise worth doing. And then the second one is, what is your conversion rate? And if you've got a sales team, then that would be a number that you'd need to kind of talk to everybody and see who's hitting what numbers and average those out. All right, so let's move over to the next tab at the bottom here. And that says budget allocations. And again, this isn't something that you have to fill out immediately right now. But what we'll see here is it pulls in the average projected revenue from the previous sheet. And then marketing budget for the year. Typically, window treatment awning industry is between 7 to 12%, 7 to 10% of your revenue should be going towards marketing. So in this case, I put in 10%. That means my yearly budget for marketing is 100,000. That means my average monthly is going to be 8,300. So again, you can take this same revenue number and start to kind of break down what are we going to put our money towards in the coming year. And these numbers are obviously can be changed around. We put 70 for online, 20 for offline, and then 10% towards repeat business. So that would be things like, review us campaigns, follow up through newsletters, things of that sort. Offline, we have some clients that do more offline. They do radio and TV more often. So that number might be higher. But this will start to help you figure out every month what your budget is by online, offline, and referrals / repeat business. Just a really cool way to kind of get those numbers in order for each of those different things. If you scroll down a little bit for the online portion, I've actually broke that out as well towards SEO, pay-per-click, other display ads, retargeting type stuff to give you some numbers there. So as you plug those numbers in, you'll see how they automatically change for you. And these don't have to be solid numbers, right? They're just a really good idea of what we should be doing in the next year if we want to hit our goal. So that's that sheet. Next is the cost per lead by source. And these numbers are obviously going to be different depending on where you're at, how much competition there is, things like that. So I just put in some average numbers. And if you're doing any pay-per-click, these numbers can probably be a little bit more solid because you'll have a decent amount of data to know that on average, our hard treatments are $40 every time every time a lead converts, that's about what we're spending. Soft, so you can put in these numbers here and start to get a really good idea for your industry. And by the way, this is the window treatment tab, and I also made one specifically for awnings too. Awning prices are a little different, and it depends on what you're selling, right? Is it an awning? Is it retractable? Is it sunshades? There's a lot of different pieces to that. So, it's worth spending some time understanding okay, here's kind of what we should be spending per lead in order to get those. Next is a marketing calendar. And again, just an idea for an overall kind of approach to the coming year. So obviously, Bobby in Hawaii is not going to be too worried about the heating part of this, right? But kind of put something together for the average person in the U.S. here. We've got some New Year type stuff, some spring cleaning ideas, and then of course back to school, preparing for the holidays, some of the things that we've kind of just finished up in a lot of the different industries. And then maybe letting some more sun in during the winter. Just a really good idea of some different campaigns that you can put together. I know that Oana said she's kind of struggling with some of the social media. Maybe this will help in some sort of way. Also, if you scroll over to the right a little bit, kind of categorize these in different ways that you could use them throughout the year. So you can fill in that sheet as you want, use our ideas or change them. And then lastly, we put together just a quick special offers by month. A lot of our clients, not everybody, but a lot of our clients do specials in 2-month chunks. We have one client that always does, like this free upgrades, right, for May. And then around June 1st, we're putting up, some sort of extended 30 days. But we do this every 2 months. We're putting up a new, extended for another month kind of thing. Last chance, in the last 2 weeks. But just some ideas, and it's really nice to be able to put these down kind of on paper, so that what can we do throughout the year to help people, encourage people to engage with us. All right, any questions about any of those tabs at the bottom? I know I went through a whole bunch of stuff for you. No questions. All right, awesome. I think the big one here is going to be this target planner. That's going to be the big piece. Get that revenue number for next year, what you want to hit, and then start to look at, okay, how are we going to generate, in this case, 111 leads per month in order to make that happen. All right, let's see. I'm going to skip past these because I kind of already said a lot of these, right? Put your answers in there. So three main pieces when we talk about fundamentals for business success. Those are the message, the market, and the media. So starting with the market, we're talking about who are we talking to? Who is our market? When you're thinking about that, you really need to figure out, okay, who is my ideal customer? It's not everybody. It is a specific group. I read something, I think it was today, that said if you think you're selling to everybody, you're selling to nobody, right? You really should have somewhat of a specific group. And in the workbook, there is a page in there specifically around demographics. These demographics might be correct, they might be wrong, but it gives you a good idea of what kind of people that you like to do business with, what kind of people are typically purchasing from you, right? And it helps you start to create what we call an avatar, or a fictional character that is our audience, if you will. And a lot of these things are the same. Are they always almost always married? Do you only do high-end type stuff, so they might have a higher revenue average income? Do they have pets? A lot of awning companies can target, write blogs around pets and keeping your dog cool, especially in hotter areas. Things like that you might not even think about, but this can start to lead to some really great content ideas down the road. So in the workbook, there is a customer avatar section, and it's very much worth your time to kind of start to figure that out. Are they always married? Do they like to make people happy? For the window treatment side, are your customers typically female? I would say it skews that direction more than not in a lot of cases. So, you know, how old are they? What is their income? Things like that. And then start to think about, okay, what are their pains and frustrations? Is the thing not working? Or since they're working at home, is their son coming in every afternoon at 2 o'clock or something like that, right? Lots of different things that could be a frustration to them. And these are great things to kind of think about and even listen to your customers when you're doing the installs. Man, I'm so glad that you're putting in that thing because now this won't happen, right? Pay attention to that kind of stuff because that could lead to some really good ads. You know, obviously some content, but some really good ads too, right? Because they're probably not the only ones maybe dealing with that thing. Fears and implications. Are they afraid of being ripped off? Have they been ripped off by somebody else? Are they worried about, you know, somebody trudging through their house with mud? And there's all kinds of reasons that people might be inconvenienced, you know, or are the parts going to come in on time? Especially around the holidays, you know, we're kind of winding down for that now, but you know, are there specific things that people are really freaking out about? You know, we've got a lot of family coming, well, maybe not this year, got a lot of family coming, you know, and we want the house to look great prior to this happening, that kind of stuff. I keep forgetting we're in a Martian landscape at the moment, right? All right, goals and desires. Obviously, getting things fixed, that's an easy one. I mentioned families may be coming over, you want to look good, or you just want to get, you know, you've got other things that you want to get done. Obviously, things outside of just specifically your industry or you know, the awning and the window treatment thing. Do they want to have successful kids? Do they want to travel more? There's a lot of things like that are definitely worth considering as well and writing down. And again, if you've never gone through this process, one thing you can do is as you're listening, you know, to your clients in these different installs and stuff, you'll start to pick up these things now that you kind of know that you should be listening for some of them. There's a great quote. If you can see Joe Smith through Joe Smith's eyes, then you'll know what Joe Smith buys. You'll know how to sell what Joe Smith buys. It helps if you can read correctly also. All right, so that was the market or the who. Let's talk about the message or the what, right? So we've got our avatar. Why should that avatar choose to do business with you versus one of your competitors? Do you have cheaper prices? It's not always the best answer. Do you take extra precautions? You know, do you have a money back guarantee? What is that promise? It's worth thinking about what are those things that set us apart from the competitors. For those of you that have hired us, there you go. It's because you're kicking butt in Google and they don't have a chance, the competitors, right? No. All right, number 2, what are the benefits that you offer to your target avatar? Think of some of their pain points in this case, right? You know some of their pain points are, so what kind of benefits do you offer that ease those pain points a little bit? Or is it some extra benefit where there's, you know, it's a 5-year warranty, or it's free service for 30 days, or I don't know, you know, you guys would know what those kind of things are, those benefits that will just be kind of an over-the-top encouragement for your customers. Pain points we kind of talked about. What are things that you can poke at? And not in a mean way, but what are things that, you know, are you frustrated with the sun coming in every day at 2 in the afternoon? You know, those are things that you could turn into different ads, different pieces of content, and start to talk to that avatar. Here are some ideas. Same day service, emergency services. Obviously, this is only going to work probably for repairs. It's not like you're going to go install an awning in a day. Upfront pricing, satisfaction guaranteed, in-home consultations, or maybe Zoom virtual type consultations nowadays. On time, every time. That's a good one. 30-day money back guarantee, those sorts of things. The other side of this is reviews. So especially nowadays, people are really checking these reviews quite often. And if your review game is not strong, Oded, I know that your review game is strong, right? You guys have a plan in place to get those reviews. That's fantastic. But getting those reviews in a very consistent way is going to speak volumes to potential customers out there. And I did want to bring one thing up. There is a difference between a review and a testimonial. And typically this is from Google's standpoint, how they view it. A review is typically something left on the Google platform or Facebook or Yelp or Houzz or any of those platforms where it's a third party that is leaving an honest review of something that you did or an install or something like that. Testimonial is still great, but typically those are things that you put on your own website. And to be honest, Google doesn't trust them at all because they know it's your website and you can put whatever you want on your website. So it's definitely worth having both. It really is good. Testimonials are great trust factors to have on your website. But at the end of the day, as in Oded's case, your review game needs to be strong. You need to make sure that you have a follow-up plan in place to always get those reviews. Social proof. I don't know if anybody's heard of social proof. Social proof is kind of a phenomenon, I guess you could call it, where if somebody sees a business with a bunch of reviews, they're more likely to engage with that business than ones that don't have reviews. All three companies could be great, right? Shades by Design, Biscayne Decor, and the Shade Store could all be fantastic. But Shades by Design, 61 reviews with a 4.8 average, kind of an easy choice, right? They're probably going to choose that one, especially if they are looking at this on a mobile device where it's fairly small and they're just looking for options. So having a strong a review platform, a review campaign in place is very smart. So in the workbook, make a case for your business. We've gone through a lot of different things, come up with some great ways on why people should do business with you. It's worth taking some time to just make a case for your business. And I'd love to hear from anyone that's on today. What is something that sets you apart from one of your competitors? Go ahead, Oded. I saw you on mute.
And I thought somebody else was going ahead of me anyway, but I guess family-oriented business is a big one. People do like that when there's a couple of people and members of the family and with their employees that, that's one of the big ones for us, it seems like. I mean, you mentioned the reviews, of course, that's like the biggest one.
Yeah. Yeah. The family business is a big one, I think. We use that one too, right? My daughter works with us. She does a lot of the web development for us. And people like that family aspect. It's not a huge business that, is out there dumping you into the machine and never to be heard from again. So that's great. Thank you. I don't know if Jamie's trying to say something or not. She's unmuted, but we don't, Jamie, we don't hear you.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt. Well, first, this is really off topic, but I really like your graphics.
Oh.
How did you do them?
Thank you.
What did you use to make them?
Canva Pro.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I was thinking, because they really do look great.
Cool, thank you.
I don't know. I'm just lost when it comes to all of this. Well, you know that.
Yeah. I think starting with the worksheet and figuring out, obviously what have you done this year, and then start to work through the customer avatar. I really do think that's a fantastic place to start. Know who you're talking to, and that will kind of help you start to create what it is you're going to say.
Yeah, I have all that. I think that what you were saying about what do I offer that is different than other people near me in the industry, and I think
Yep.
that it's got to be just my proximity, my
Location.
yeah, my area. Although there's a fantastic workroom, you know, a mile from me as the crow flies. So, you know, there's Houston just has so many really great designers and workrooms. It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to figure out what your niche is going to be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully some of these ideas will help you kind of define that a little bit better. And hey, listen, you can have the same thing that somebody else has, right? There's more than one person that has a 30-day guarantee or something like that. But I think just the fact that you take the time to kind of express that, where a lot of businesses don't take that step, is really going to help you as well.
You're right. You're right.
Appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Hey,
All right. Go ahead.
I think for us, you know, we do that guarantee service too and offer money back, you know, if you're not happy and satisfied. And along with the family aspect of a family business, and Maui's being so small, our family's been in business for many years. So a lot of people know us and they trust us, that name. Something else I know it's been mentioned by customers is that we do everything, mostly everything in-house. So we do the sewing and everything, and the measuring and installation. Everything is all in-house. So we have that ability for communication to not get skewed as to when you're subbing it out to other clients and you have to do scheduling. We can do immediate scheduling when there's emergencies or something has to be done. We can actually move their jobs up and take care of those situations, because there's a lot that goes on with especially like repairs, rentals. Repairs need to be taken care of because you know there's safety hazards sometimes. So we can offer that. A lot of other companies here can't offer that because they sub the work out.
That's
And
great.
you have other people part of that.
That's great. So you're not tied to another company to get waiting on them to get the work complete.
Yeah.
You can reallocate resources as needed on a quick basis.
Yeah, that's what I.
In my book, that is huge.
Yeah.
That you're not subbing out. That's huge. From the consumer perspective, I would much rather go with you than anybody else that's subbing out.
Right.
And
you got another customer, Bobby. You got another customer.
Yeah. Well, you have a finite group of homeowners, or I guess you do probably residential and hospitality industry, maybe. I don't know that you just have a huge area to draw from. There's only so many people that live on Maui. And it's a huge tourist area.
I know one thing they do is a lot of the people that do come during the winter, you know, and on other months, they are going into those places and fixing them up. So there is other things that they can do, even though the people maybe aren't there at the moment.
Oh, that's true. I hadn't thought about snowbirds. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for the conversation. It's fantastic. So the last piece of this is the media, and that is the how. How are we going to, we know who we're going to talk to, we know what we're going to say. How are we going to get out to them? As we've already kind of talked about, there are a lot of pieces to this equation. The big piece to this is your website. Your website really should be the hub of everything you do. And the reason that I like this, even over something like Facebook, which a lot of businesses consider their main piece, is that you control it. You don't want to be building on rented land, right? You don't want to be building on land that could change at any moment. Having your own website that you can control the messaging, you can control everything, is the best way to kind of go with that. So here are some questions when it comes to looking at your website. And I challenge you to pull up your website and look at your own. I've mentioned this a couple times. Conversions are huge. It's not always about having the prettiest site, but more about, does your site convert the visitors to the next step? And that's typically called a call to action. Here's an example. This is a client we have that, as I mentioned, here's his sale, right? Final days to order because it's month 2 of this particular special. But obvious calls to action: schedule a complimentary in-home appointment. We've got some other things as you scroll down through the page. Here's our locations. Some of these things stay at the top. The showrooms, for example, stays there. Whatever it is, make sure that no matter where somebody is on your site, and I've always challenged you, our clients and people that are not our clients, go to your site, click a couple things just randomly, scroll halfway down and see if there's a obvious next step wherever you land. Is there an obvious thing to do? Is there a phone number in the top right? Does it stay with you no matter where you're at on the page? Is there some sort of call to action for them to schedule an appointment or whatever you want that next step to be? Does your site convert visitors to the next step? And if you're interested, I do have an article on that at wtmarketingpros.com/CTA. Lead magnets. I talk often about lead magnets. A lot of times these are typically PDFs of some sort, and these speak to the researchers and the shoppers. So there's 2 different kinds of people that could come to your site. There's people that have an immediate problem and want it fixed, or they already know your brand and they just want to engage, right? Those people are the buyers. There are also people out there who are researchers who are just considering your company along with maybe 2 or 3 or 5 others, right? So a lead magnet is a piece of value that you can give to somebody who's maybe a potential customer of yours. And it's a way to give them value and at the same time get their email address so you can continue to give them value. Some of our clients use like a design guide. So it's a 3 or 4 page PDF that anybody can download. Just plug your email address in and you get this design guide. But this does a couple things. It solidifies in their head that these guys know what they're doing, right? They're answering some questions that maybe I didn't even have. There's obviously some good information in here, some questions that I would expect to ask, but there's also what I call SAQs, or should ask questions. Oh, I didn't even think about that when I was, thinking of getting new drapes or whatever it happens to be. So having that lead magnet is a great way to capture a good amount of those researchers, of those tire kickers out there. Again, here's Sunshine, the free design guide on their website. This is great and it works fairly well for those window treatment companies that are Hunter Douglas affiliates. Maybe it's download the new catalog, things of that sort, or let us send you a catalog in the mail. We've done that as well. Are there tracking mechanisms in place? This is a big one, right? As Bobby said early on, are the things we're doing even working? Are they producing ROI? I think Oana said that too. One of the big tools we use, obviously, Google Analytics. A lot of people use that. And we'll talk a little bit more about Google Analytics in a minute here. But having that data and being able to go back and look at that over the past year is great. It's also great to show you what content is working, what content maybe isn't working so well. Do you have KPIs in place? So this kind of talks back to the worksheet we went through. We know how much we need to spend in an average month. So is there a mechanism in place that counts the leads that come in, whether they picked up the phone or they texted us or they filled out a form? or they answered an ad, whatever it happens to be. Do you have tracking in place to keep track of all those different opportunities that are coming your way? Very important to have that in place. Analytics is a great place to start. Analytics has a place where you can actually set up goals, and then you could start to see those goals. So for instance, you could set up a goal in this instance of people that landed on the thank you page. So the only way anybody is going to land on our thank you page is because they filled out our contact us form, right? They filled out the form. The next page that came up was the thank you page. They're not going to find that page by Googling thank you pages on XYZ awnings, right? The only way they're going to get there is that. So that is a goal, a solid goal that you could actually put into analytics and start to track. Okay, this month we've got 40 form submissions. This month we only got 30. This month we got 28. So you can start to see those numbers over time. Here's an example of that from the back end for one of our clients. In between January and June, 1,000 different goal completions. Those are made up of different things. In this case, if you look on the right, 156 people set an appointment right through the website. 800 people picked up the phone and called. But because they're using call tracking and some other services, they know exactly where these leads are coming from. And this is a phone number that only shows up on the website. So we can directly attribute those 846 calls to the website generating that call because that phone number doesn't show up anywhere else. Lead magnets, also good, right? There's the design guide, 67 people downloaded that. And in this case, the Hunter Douglas catalog, not terribly popular, but 12 people did download it as well. And this is what, 79 additional people that were added to the newsletter, right? And are able to be touched on a regular basis so that we can stay top of mind. And a good portion of those will convert into clients. Bobby, you got something to say?
Yeah. So on my website, I can find this, right? I have this somewhere, this information for what's on mine.
Yep.
And I obviously don't know where it is.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if later on we can kind of figure out how we can get into that and access the information so I can sort of get an idea of where we're at. And I know we're not at like 846 but it would be interesting for me to see where we need to go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So this is all stuff that you can set up in analytics. Bobby, since you're one of our clients, we do have this set up, and I'd be happy to share that with you as well.
Okay.
Call tracking is another piece of this. I kind of mentioned this earlier. One of the biggest leaks that a website has in general is that you put up your office phone number on there, right? So somebody Googles you, they find your website, they pick up the phone and call you. You can't directly track that phone call back to the website that generated that. You could ask them, how did you find us? But that requires them to always tell the truth and quite honestly, always remember, right? It could be that, they could just say, I Googled you, or, I was on my phone. I mean, they could come up with any answer. Having these pieces in place leaves no doubt to how they found you and shows you which pieces are working well and which ones aren't. So as I mentioned earlier, pull up your website when you get some time. Is it built to convert? Cruise around on a couple pages and see, is there a call to action no matter where you're at? Put a list together of things we probably need to fix. We need to tweak this, we need to tweak that. And one thing that I've kind of noticed on a lot of websites, I talk to a lot of people in this industry, is click to call on mobile is not set up. And what I mean by that is pull up your phone on a mobile device, whether that's a phone or a tablet, pull up your website and see if you can click on the phone number and if it dials immediately. I see Bobby doing it. We're good, Bobby, I promise. But having that call, that click to call is going to be huge. Around 60 to 70% of all web searches now are done on mobile devices. So 60 to 70% of all your potential customers that you have are looking at your website on a phone or on a tablet, most likely on a phone, right? if they have to copy and paste that phone number to call you, they're probably not going to do it. So anyway, one quick little easy tip for you. Now,
Will, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm a small business owner. I just basically started the business 3 months ago, and I don't have an office, right? I'm operating off of my home. I know you recommend when we go and register for all the lists and stuff like that to put the same phone number. Should I use my like my cell number, or should I use a Google voice number? And would that be okay for like everywhere on my website, everywhere I advertise, or what should I do?
Yeah. So it doesn't matter which number you use. What's more important is that you're just consistent with it. If you want to use your cell phone all the time, that's fine. But that number should be everywhere. We talk about name, address, phone number always being the same, no matter where you're listing it, right? The same should even be true on your website. And most call tracking companies, what they'll do is they'll give you a little snippet of code, 2 or 3 lines of code to put into your website. And then when a customer comes to your website, that number changes dynamically. So it changes to one of their call tracking numbers. When somebody dials that number, it still goes to your same, it forwards to whatever number you've chosen it to go to. But it gives you that tracking ability, which is nice. The other side of that is when Google comes to your website, that code doesn't kick in because it knows that it's a bot and not just a Chrome browser or something like that. So they see your real phone number, the same number that they see on Google My Business, same number they see in, well, the yellow pages, if there is still such a thing, wherever they see it, right? Business directories, Chamber of Commerce, wherever your website is listed and your phone number is listed, as long as it's always the same across all those networks, you're in good hands. Another option that I don't know a whole lot about, but I've heard people talk about Grasshopper, which is a phone answering service, I guess, if you will. They give you a phone number and you can create, press 1 for sales, press 2 for repairs, that kind of stuff. Maybe that's a little overkill, but it does give you one solid phone number that you can use across all the different networks. So does that answer your question?
Awesome, thank you. Yes, it does.
Okay, cool, very good. So I know that I've gone through a lot of stuff so far, and it does get a little crazy, and some of you guys have already mentioned there's a lot of pieces to this. At the same time, I'm encouraging you to have some sort of KPIs, have some sort of system in place. Obviously, for our customers, you guys know that you have the ability to get to some of this. And of course, the app version, which is pretty awesome as well, lets you communicate with customers very quickly. But having something like this in place is really going to help you start to get all of your leads into one area. And when we start looking at leads, typically 50 to 60% of all your inbound traffic just leaves, right? They didn't convert, they didn't do anything. Part of that could be that they're just tire kickers, or there could be plenty of reasons why that happened. At the same time, 90% of web forms fail to convert. So even though somebody might have filled out the form, they may have gone on to the next Google result and filled out that form too, right? And they may have filled out 5 or 6 forms in the matter of a day. What we found is that leads that are not followed up within around 15 minutes go cold. That's insane, 15 minutes. And if any of you are using some of these services like Angie's List, Home Advisor, they tend to give those leads out to a lot of people, right? And it tends to be the first or second person that calls gets that lead. And the rest of people are just paying for the lead for no reason at all because they're not being able to follow up quickly. At the same time, the average customer needs to be followed up multiple times. 5 to 7 is what I put here, but I've seen as high as 12 times somebody needs to be touched on multiple platforms. So this is why retargeting is gaining so much popularity, right? You look at a website, then the next day you see their ad on Facebook, or you see them pop up on Google or YouTube or something like that. These extra touch points help overall, increase the number of leads that you have. A lot of consumers like to interact with text messaging over phone or email. My wife is a prime example of that. If she could never talk to another person to order a pizza or something again, she would be in heaven, right? And just being able to order it on your phone and not talk to anybody. And nowadays, they'll just drop it off at your door. You don't even have to talk to them then, right? But it's interesting how people are kind of adapting, especially in today's kind of society. Text messaging is a big piece of this. So here it is kind of graphically. The longer it goes in minutes from the time somebody contacts you to the time that you're able to follow up to them can drastically reduce that conversion rate. And that's huge, right? We're all fighting for these leads. At the same time, the more times you can follow up, the better. So what's very important is to make sure that you're leveraging marketing automation, some different things that you can do to follow up within that first 2 minutes of submitting, whether that is phone, email, text message, or all three would be great as well. And then automate some sort of follow-up so that you're touching them multiple ways from multiple platforms. Pretty easy when it comes down to it. This is obviously just an example. If we took 100 leads and you're converting around 30% of them because there's no follow-up, right? If you don't answer the phone, you're probably busy and maybe don't get back to them. If your average ticket's $650, you're looking at 19 grand in revenue. With some sort of a follow-up system in place, a couple really important things happen. Your conversion rate obviously goes up. That same 100 leads can turn into 45 grand in this example. Same 100 leads, we just converted more of them by having some sort of system in place, which obviously is better, right? I'd rather have I almost said 19. I'd rather have 45,000 than 19,000, and I'm sure you guys would as well. Whatever numbers they happen to be, right? Having some sort of system in place really just makes every lead much more valuable in the overall scheme of things. So let's talk about real quick conversion elements. What are things that you can put on your website? And this is in the workbook as well. What 3 things can you do? If I were to help you fill this in, first thing I would say is phone number in the top right. Make sure your phone number is on that page and that the header is sticky. And by that, I mean, as you scroll down through some of these websites, that phone number stays up there. It never goes away. That's one easy way to always have a site that converts, right? Because no matter what's happening, that number is there. At the minimum, they can pick up the phone and call you. Some different color buttons, right? Click here to schedule an appointment, different things like that. Any kind of conversion elements that you can implement to increase potential leads for you. So going through a lot of stuff, hopefully you're able to decide on a clear goal for the next year in terms of revenue and maybe in terms of market, message, media. What are you going to do to hit that goal as well? Make sure that your website is optimized specifically for conversion, and then make sure that you have the tracking pieces in place and a dashboard that you can kind of keep an eye on this stuff, as Bobby was asking. It's nice to have it, but only if you're going to look at it, right? If not, then it's just there, making no help to you at all. So again, I'd like to open the floor and ask you guys, what were your big takeaways? Is there anything that you would like to share that helped you move your business forward in the coming year? You guys are all working on the workbook. I know that's what it is. You're all head down, working so hard on the notebook. That's fantastic. Bobby, I'll pick on you.
Oh no, I knew you were going to pick on me. So I was actually working on the workbook and in between, and that's why I missed some things. But then yeah, I took notes on that the market, message, and media. So, I just took some points on there from what I wanna look at and investigate and kind of incorporate into I have the market. I have a couple of ideas on what who I wanna target and stuff, which is what's
Awesome.
our big thing for us. And and then of course getting the message out to them, what we can offer them, what we can do, um, and the media part is going to be more so with you. I deal with you, so we kind of get how to get the message out to people who want to see out there. And but yeah, I quickly did some of the numbers, and I was actually the average transaction. I For a long time I've been meeting on looking for that, but I didn't do it, and then now it's like it pops. I got to do it, so I just really did it quick, and so I got a number, and I plugged it in there and stuff, and so now I have a little more clear idea of what we need to do as opposed to just winging it and saying, oh, and oh, look at that. That's a nice number.
Right.
Uh, so now I think as we deal with the customers, we know how to, we might, well, not know yet, but we have an idea where we need to go to um, hit those goals and what we
Yeah.
need to accomplish, in the time frame. So
That's
it'll,
awesome. Having that
it'll be
number
good for us. Yeah.
can really help. Yeah. I don't know if somebody else was trying to say something.
Yeah, I can go next.
Okay, Oana, let's start with
Yeah,
you.
so I love the goals and the fact that you actually have it all plugged in. I love the Excel sheet, and I love the avatars that you were showing. It it makes us think really hard on the benefits that we offer and the types of messages that we want to create for our target market. So I love that. And I think everything was really, really good information. I'm gonna, look through the workbook again, and I'm gonna start acting on it. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Jamie, go ahead.
I guess talking about the phone number, this is my second year in business. I sure wish that I had heard of getting a Google number and putting that on my website. I think 2 years in, I'm kind of afraid to change the fact that I have my cell phone up there.
Yep.
But the Google number, I think, is an excellent idea. I really wish that I had done that. And what is your opinion of me changing that?
So the Google number might not be the best solution, because what's going to happen is you're going to have that phone number on your website, but your real phone number everywhere else, right?
That's what I think.
Yeah, and you don't want to send two different signals to Google. So what you really need is one of those services like CallRail, 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 or we are actually launching a 100% window treatment and awning based CRM that includes call tracking, all of these pieces probably within the next month or two. So that might help you as well. And it comes with the app and the lead tracking and all of the different things we talked about today. So
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
The next question I have is, I get, I don't know, probably 20 emails a week saying, we looked at your first page and we can optimize your SEO for Google. And I have a lot of traffic in my Google Analytics. How can you tell if that is just people coming in trying to get my email address to send me junk mail?
Right. So you can't directly tell that. I mean, one thing you could do is look at how long they were on the site, right? You could filter everybody that spent at least 30 seconds on your website. And then what are those numbers, right? That would be a good place to start. But I think at the end of the day, the easy way to tell is how many leads is the website generating, right? If you're getting 1,000 visitors a month, but only 3 leads, then that's a pretty good indication that the traffic is trash.
Yeah. And then I think that I get an awful lot of hits from fellow workroom owners that are just curious.
Right, right.
How do
Also,
you find out that? How do you figure that out?
I don't, yeah, I don't think that I would focus on it. I think I would just focus on the SEO side of things to get more of the right traffic. You know, there's always going to be competition. There's always going to be people out there looking to steal, and especially once you start ranking and doing quite well, you're gonna have even more of their attention, right? But yeah, I think maybe just maybe mindset change into, you know, how can my website really start to be a revenue generator for me, and let those people be left in the dust.
Okay.
That's my non-motivational speech for the day. I'm not very good at motivational speeches, right?
You are. You're wonderful.
I do have a comment from Mike. Definitely got some good knowledge on budgeting next year. Thank you. You mentioned Home Advisor. For anyone interested in this, I would recommend against it. About 30% of the leads I got weren't even for things that I do, and they're very difficult to get refunds. It's not even worth trying. The other leads will get multiple people. Of all our leads from Home Advisor, we converted less than 10%, but people who call me directly, we close 85%. Just food for thought. Fantastic information.
That is great.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. So awesome. Well, thank you all for jumping on today. As you know, there are a lot of pieces in what we call our digital dominance method. Most of the things we talked about today were pretty high level around setting goals, getting a good idea of what we're going to do. And then when we talk about the media, you know, there's, as you've mentioned too, there are a lot of ways to go. SEO, pay-per-click, AdWords, newsletter, you know, Facebook. Which one should I do, right? There are a lot of pieces to that. But I would encourage you overall to obviously look at search engine optimization as a fantastic long-term strategy, which can, you know, obviously pay off in fairly big dividends down the line. And obviously you can't really do everything. So if you had to pick one to start with, I would recommend content. And the only reason I would recommend that is because that ultimately fuels a lot of the other things, right? Writing some really good content, getting some good blogs out there will help you start to rank. It will start to generate links from other websites back to yours. So if you had to do one thing, that would be to start with content. I'd also recommend that you start looking at your Google business listing if you haven't already. As I mentioned, Oded's team's doing really good with the Google My Business, the reviews, things like that. But make sure that that is optimized all the way out. Got your business hours in there, got your holiday hours in this case on there, that you have pictures, that you're uploading posts on a regular basis to that system. And I do have a training session specifically on Google Business optimization as well. Let's see, Oana, go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you. So I was wondering if you have tried and your clients have tried before the lead generation platforms like House, Angie's List, Home Advisor, Yelp, so on. Do you have any that you know convert better and are returning on investment? Would you make any recommendation?
I've had some clients try House. I think they have a pro version that you can try. Mike said he might be able to help too. I know he's kind of already talked about Home Advisor. I do have a client that tried House, wasn't real happy with it, tried it for a short time, and he's then since then actually put most of his money into actually what we're looking at here, running ads specifically in the Google 3-pack. So you can actually get a fourth listing in that 3-pack through Google Ads system. He's putting a good amount of budget into that, and I'm seeing that with some of my agency owners that own other agencies that maybe service the plumbing or HVAC or roofing. Some of these guys, their clients seem to be having really good luck with the ads inside Google Maps, which is interesting. Let's see what was the other thing? Oh, I don't know anything about this, but I just heard that Nextdoor has released an ad platform.
Yes.
Nextdoor is a fantastic program, and if you can get in front of specific subdivisions, that's incredible. Like I said, I know very little about it, but I've heard that platform is working well for some of my friends too that have some of these agencies. So might be worth
I
something
was
checking
actually considering between Yelp and Nextdoor, and I went with Yelp just now because they offered me like a deal.
Yep.
And I'm just trying it out, but I think I'm gonna try Nextdoor next to you, kind of make a comparison.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be looking more into Nextdoor in the coming months and putting together some training specifically on that as well. So let's see.
Yeah, hurry on Nextdoor because I've gotten some really good leads on it.
I've heard that. Yeah, yeah. Just in the organic side of it, right? Not actually running ads.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but I mean, this year has been completely different. I mean, I made 3,000 masks and everybody got me from Nextdoor. And now that's starting to generate some leads towards worker and business.
Yep. Yep. Jamie, go ahead.
I was just going to say that in the Facebook groups, it's discussed over and over again between like especially designers. They'll put that question out there. What about Houzz? What about Yelp? What about, all these other different things? And they've all really, it's all been negative. It's all been and I don't know what your industry is, but it has been negative feedback that, it was way more expensive than what it was worth.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Mike said no experience with Houzz. Yelp never panned out. Some leads came in, but was never worth it. Angie's List charges a monthly rate. Been doing it for only 4 months and sold 2 jobs from it. It depends on what the revenue is from those 2 jobs. Might make it worth it, might not. I will look into Nextdoor as well. I'm very interested in the Nextdoor option. I think for some of our clients that do more of the high-end stuff, especially, as I mentioned, if they can target specific areas, that is really cool. Not good revenue from Angie's List. Okay, thanks, Mike. Awesome. So back to this, make sure that you check out our training on Google My Business as well. Start getting those reviews. If you're not getting consistent reviews or don't have some sort of a plan in place to get those reviews, it is definitely worth planning some sort of strategy around that.
I guess I got one question to ask you.
Yes.
So with the internet, it seems like when most people search the net, and at first everybody is looking for a deal, for a bargain, and a lot of the internet searches, it's a do-it-yourself type of people that, our type of business is obviously more for those who say, I need somebody to come in here, help me, select and then place an order and come back and install. And that's where I feel like, a lot of the wasted, whatever we talked about throughout all these, trashed leads and so forth.
Yeah.
Happens to be where they think they're going to come in, they see your website and whether you paid for an ad or you didn't, and they just think, oh, there's no prices here. There's nothing for me to basically, I got to call them. I don't really want to call them. I don't want to share my information with them and so forth.
Right.
Is there a specific way to kind of minimize all that? That's where, with being a custom business, I guess maybe specific keywords or a specific message to let them know, hey,
yep,
we're not going to be your inexpensive, ready-made type of blind or so forth. We're custom, more on the mid to high-end stuff.
Yeah, I think you kind of answered your own question. Part of it is the copy on your site, that when you have that avatar really kind of created out, that you're speaking to that person, and somebody who's more of a tire kicker or a Craigslist shopper is going to kind of self-filter, right? They're going to read this and think, oh, wow, these guys are a little bit higher up for me probably not going to give them a call. The other thing I'll say is we signed a window treatment company in Sacramento, California recently, and they're doing a lot of installs for Lowe's. And one thing that Lowe's does is charge for that initial consult. And they want to get away from the Lowe's model, but they are actually, their set appointment page is a $50 fee to set an appointment. So it could just be that direct. Now, I don't know if it's maybe the location. We're just starting to test this out, but it's worth testing. When I used to teach locally, I used to do a lot of free classes, and I'd have a bunch of people sign up. Not a lot of people show up. When I put a $10 fee on that same exact class, I'd have a 90-something% show up rate. So maybe that's another way to filter it out, and it's going to be a fun little test. So I wish I had better data to let you know, but that's something worth considering.
No, I agree with that, because
Yeah.
this is something that's on my plate also. I did create a small minimal stupid fee, like a $29 fee, a $39 fee, where it's like, look, if you're serious,
Yep.
for $29 to $39 for us to come over, you got to pay that money. I'm not asking you for $150 an hour. I'm asking you for literally a couple of dollars, just to show that that you really have a serious interest. So
Absolutely.
that's definitely on my list over here. That's something that I wanted to discuss with you anyway. But
Yep. Love it. Like I said, we're testing it out. So I think we're going to test out a couple different price points and see what works. But obviously it depends on the area as well. But another great way to kind of filter some of those out.
all right, except Bruno, when you get a chance, if you can reach out to me or call me or whatever, we can figure out what we our issue.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sold. Happy to do it.
So I'm curious, with everybody on here, who are you targeting? Are you targeting retail homeowners, or are you targeting and getting more business from designers?
All of the above.
Okay.
In Oded's case,
we work with retail, and we work also with designers and commercial contractors. Basically, anybody needs our services.
I know in Bobby's case, I don't want to speak for you, but I think it's mostly residential for you. Would that be fair?
Yeah, a lot of this we do residential, and I'm looking at targeting the new home builds, because the housing out here is just booming. There's houses that are coming up here and there. I didn't even know they were coming up. That sense, and a lot of vacation rentals. So that's another of our big ones, where owners have vacation rentals, and so there's a high turnover rate there. And those are the ones I talked about. We want to make sure we can take care of those immediately, because they need the things up. They can't rent it out if there's nothing up there. So yeah, we try to stay away from designers. Sometimes it takes too much of our time to try to figure out some things that they want to do. But we do work with some designers though, but some it's too much of a hassle for us to deal with sometimes. But yeah.
Will, if you would like a comment on the charging a fee, I can share some information we got from some folks. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sure. It's always a challenge to try to decide, is it worth going on this trip? But we've run a couple of tests with it with folks who were doing over $2 million a year. And we did the analysis that if they did not charge a fee, but they went on the leads, would they sell enough extra to make up for the fact that they didn't get the money in the first place? And that was one that we learned from the numbers did not pay off for them, even though they got money up front. The other one is to take a look at who are the people who tend to charge a fee. Is it the large people who are doing multi-millions of dollars in business, or is it the home-based operator that gets so busy because they're doing everything that they really want fewer leads. The typical home-based operator gets 2 appointments a week. And so if they're very busy, then putting a fee on it is fine. But any barrier to meeting with a customer, that many people are paying $200 or more to be able to get them to call them, is something that may not help the business as much as if the individual is too busy, it's possible. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, appreciate that. By the way, Steve's does Exciting Windows, if anybody has heard of that, and Window Coverings University. So I think Guy knows what he's talking about, probably, right? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for mentioning it. But let's focus on the people you've got here and try to do what we can do. I loved your conversation about the target customer, and that is truly important. It's very important. If you look at most of the blinds companies that are major ones, their target customer is earning between $50,000 and $100,000, and we think the real money is between $100,000 and $250,000. And the way you can find that out is by looking at home values where they live. I don't want to get involved in talking about that too much, but your comment about target customer is very important.
Thank you.
I just have a question for Steve. What were they charging? I mean, I'm looking to maybe try something with a small minimal fee, like I said, $29 or $39, just when you're putting an ad out there to see if they'll, reach out to us and see how serious. But what was the dollar amount that they tried?
They were charging at that time, and this has been over 10 years ago, they were charging, I believe, $75 for their fee up front. It really depends on the kind of customer you're after. If you're after a high income customer, is that going to help? If you're after a low income customer, is it going to be a barrier? So it's what is the home value and the average income of the people you're looking for. Again, it's all about the target customer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Steve. Thank you very much. All right. So one thing I haven't really mentioned is social media. I do have some training out there on it. I had a great interview with a social media expert a couple months ago too. All of this is available on the WT Marketing Pros /training area. I've got the last year's worth of training out there as well. And the other thing, I just did a big webinar last month on pay-per-click advertising as well. So if you have any specific questions about that, we go into a little bit more detail on that particular thing. So instead of me going over it today, you can learn all about it there. And that was just last month. I know that Oded checked that one out for sure. And as I said, these are all pieces of what we call our digital dominance method. Lots of different pieces, lots of things that you could be doing. But I do encourage you to take the workbook that I've given you and put down your top 3 if you haven't already. What are the 3 big things that you want to focus on? And the one thing that I don't have on this page, but I would encourage you to put a date. Put a date. What these 3 things, we want to get them done by April 1, for instance. Whatever that is, put a date on it because that tends to help you. I forget that. What is that thing that's the work expands to take up the time, to hit that goal. So the shorter you can make that goal, the sooner you'll probably end up getting it done, or at least start working towards it. So put those 3 initiatives in place, write them down, put them on paper, and then start working towards them. And then there are a couple questions down there, especially around SEO. Are you going to get an assessment? And it's very important to know where you're at today so that if things are building and working in a better way for you. Lastly, if anybody wants some one-on-one help, we are available. This is what we do. Fill out our form at wtmarketingpros.com/strategy. Get on my calendar. We'll pull up your website. We'll look at competitors. We'll look at your position, where you are, and of course, tell you about our business as well. wtmarketingpros.com/strategy. So for a quick recap, I thank you so much for everybody being on here, for being interactive. I really enjoyed that. Hopefully you have a clear goal and a target for 2021, a little bit more clarity around your messaging, around who you're talking to, and how you're going to get in front of those people. Optimizing your website for conversion, highly recommend that you do that. Just look at it, see if there's any things you can tweak, change on your site, even just small changes over time. What do they say? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Start taking those small little bites and making your way towards a better 2021, which would be awesome for everybody. So let's plan on making it a great year. Obviously, if you want to get on my calendar, please do so. As far as the freebies, I do have a brand new checklist, wtmarketingpros.com/2021-checklist. And let's assume this link is actually going to work, right? I'm going to put it in there so somebody can test it and hopefully, oh my gosh, I did bad on the links today, didn't I? Let's see, 2021-checklist. You know what? I wonder if I forgot the dashes on the other one. Maybe that's what happened. But there's a checklist for you to kind of get some things in place. Again, I do appreciate your time. If you do want the keyword list, wtmarketingpros.com/keywords will get you there. Oh, Marie said nope. All right,
No, sorry to break the news, but it doesn't work.
Oh, geez. How could I break all 3 links when I tested them even? All right, I'm going to find that link and get it in the chat for you guys. Oh boy, I've been terrible with the links today. Let's see, right here. Copy.
Well, maybe you did everything for Red Canoe and you didn't do it for Window Treatment.
There we go.
Marketing Pros.
I might have done it on the wrong place, but there you go. There is a link to the checklist and the keywords. Now I know those work because I built that months ago, right? wtmarketingpros.com/keywords. And you can get, as you see here, window treatment keywords, signage keywords, awning keywords are all out there for your choosing.
Yep, that worked.
Yeah. Hey, 1 for 4. That's pretty good. And then, of course, as I mentioned, if you do want to get on a strategy session, I'd love to chat with you. I do appreciate everybody's time today. We went a little bit longer than an hour, but hopefully take that workbook, work through that, put those numbers into that Excel worksheet, and start to figure out what you're going to need in the coming year, how much to put towards each piece of that, and then put together some sort of a marketing strategy month by month so that you have a plan in place. I appreciate it. So anybody have any other questions? This is a great time to jump on and ask those questions. Oana, thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Will.
You bet.
It's been great.
Awesome. Thank you,
Good
Jane.
job. Happy holidays.
Thank you
Happy
so much.
holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Rowan. I'm waiting for your audiobook so I don't have to read it. Someone read it to me. But yeah, I'll definitely go look into that. Thanks. It was excellent, informative workshop.
Awesome. Good idea on the audiobook. That's something maybe I'll put some money towards in the new year. That'll be on my top 3.
Well, but don't you podcast about most of that stuff? I mean,
I do have a podcast. Yeah.
Oh.
And Bobby's been on the podcast too. Yeah. And Steve's going to be on the podcast soon. So,
wow.
But yeah, we do a lot there as well.
Do well, Will. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you later.
Bye.
First.